Hello friends, welcome to our channel. Myself Jitendra and having 15 years of real-time extensive experience in Java and microservices. You are on the right place if you wanted to learn Java, Spring, microservices and related technologies to work in IT organizations or to crack the interviews. So I am starting a Spring-based interview questions and answer series where you can learn important concepts and their real-time answers with the explanation so that you can understand the concept very effectively and you can work accordingly. This is my first video where I am covering Spring-based interview questions and related to dependency injection and inversion of control. These are the very important and basic questions asked by the most of the interviewer. Kindly share and subscribe this video so that you can get my latest video updates for the interview preparation and real-time experience. Now let's get started with the dependency injection and IOC container understanding. So today we will learn about what is dependency injection, and secondly we will learn what is inversion of control, that is IOC. Third question is how inversion of control is different from dependency injection. Fourth question is advantages and disadvantages of dependency injection. So these four questions we will be learning here along with the examples. Now we need to understand what is the requirement of dependency injection. For example, we have an employee class which is having a different kinds of properties. One would be your address class. So employee must be having a address. So address is another class and employee is another class. So whenever you instantiate the employee object, so it would be having an address class object also. So simply you can understand that employee requires the object of another class, that is nothing but the address. So if a class requires the object of another class to instantiate own self, then you can simply understand one class object is dependent on another class object. In the same way, we can understand if a method requires an object whenever it is going to be operated, or maybe whenever you call a method it requires an object. So it requires an object, meaning method is dependent on one of the object for which class it belongs. So now we can say that one class is dependent on another class, right? So here we need the dependent object to instantiate it or maybe calling a method. So in our next slide we will be understanding that how this dependency injection works in Spring. Now we need to understand the job of dependency injection and inversion of control. So dependency injection feature is provided by Spring core module, which is very important. And when we talk about dependency injection, it is responsible for injecting the dependencies with the help of constructor or setter methods. So when we talk about injecting the dependencies, meaning one class required the dependent object, or maybe whenever you call a method which requires the object of the class. So that time it injects the dependencies. Uh, Dependencies are required for it. So now talk about the inversion of control. The main function of the inversion of control is it keeps the Java classes independent from each other, and it manages the object creation for all the classes which is being created. So dependency injection and inversion of control, these two are design principles. So with the help of these two design principles, uh, Spring can ensure that the application would be very easy to write the Java code, and parallelly you can say the testing of the Spring based application would be easy. The reason being, whenever you do a mock testing which is required the object creation, so since Spring provides the facility that object is created initially, that during the start of the container. So there, now I have created public static void main, and I am creating the object of testdi class which is already created. So testdi is equal to new testdi. Now I am calling the method m1 which is there in the testdi class. So you need to focus on this statement testdi.m1. So here I have created the object first and then I am calling the method m1. So without the testdi object, we can't call this method m1. So in this code, m1 method is dependent on the object of what? Testdi. So without this object, we cannot call the method m1, meaning m1 method is completely dependent on the object of testdi class. So this code is tightly coupled. So you need to focus here. The statement which is written testdi.m1, it is completely dependent code, meaning it is not loosely coupled, it is tightly coupled, meaning the testdi object is required. Without this, we cannot call the method m1. Dependency injection can be injected by two types. First one is your constructor based. So whenever any mandatory dependencies are required, we can use constructor based. So meaning we can pass the parameters and use it. Second way is to having a setter methods. So whenever any optional dependencies are there, that time we can use setter methods. So I will be explaining these two dependencies in detail in later my videos. So please follow my channel. So important takeaways are here. First is dependency injection is an example of your IOC, meaning with the help of dependency injection, we can use IOC. And second thing is with the help of dependency injection, testing would be easy because the objects will be created automatically at the starting of the container. Now, third thing is dependency injection moves all the dependencies to the interfaces. This concept I will be explaining in my upcoming videos. We have seen advantages of dependency injection. Now we can see the disadvantage of dependency injection. First would be, since we are keep the Java classes dependent to each other's, meaning we would be writing a more number of classes. And secondly, we are moving the dependencies from one place to another place, so we would be writing a more number of interfaces. So these two things that we would be writing extra, when we are using a concept of dependency injection. Now we need to see why this design principle IOC named as inversion of control. So if you look at the example explained by me in earlier slide, so in a normal Java way would be calling the method by creating the object, meaning object is calling the dependent method. So this is one way. If you look at the Spring is not calling the method. Instead of calling the method would find the related dependencies, meaning both scenarios are different from each other. I mean, you can understand in this way, both scenarios are opposite to each other. So that is the reason being it is named as inversion of control. Hope you understood that how dependency injection works and how inversion of control works. Hello friends, I have explained dependency injection and inversion of control and other related concepts. So please follow and subscribe our channel to get my latest videos and updates, which is very important for interview purpose and for working in any of the IT organizations. Thank you very much.